This is Cthulhu Dark, The Secret of Castronegro 2024 edition, part two of a planned three parts. We're not going to do any recapping here. We're going to just dive right into it since we all met yesterday. So here is what we are up to. No recap. Let's just get in. Pontius, you hear that noise in the dark. It's it's a dark corner created by a large folding Balinese screen and a couple of like statues and mirrors. There's just this darkness, except you see these big saucer greens or saucer sized green eyes that they almost have like their own inner glow, I would say. You see just momentarily a person with pale skin, lanky, long black hair. A man, they're naked, crouched down. And then you feel the shopkeep grab you by the shoulder and spin you around. What do you do?
What kind of freak show are you running here, pal?
Whatever do you mean? And
Uh,
you hear footsteps running away towards the back of the store.
I'm going to shove him, and I'm going to try to chase after those footsteps.
Very good.
Seeing the form that I saw with that hair color, yeah, I'm going just,
Here is where I'm going to talk about the rule for how you can fail at a die roll. The way you can fail at a die roll is if one of us at the table, including me, thinks it would be more interesting for you to fail, in which case any one of us, or all of us, can roll against you, and you have to beat our die. We get one die, and I think in this case you're only getting one die also. And so let's do it if you're ready. I'm rolling against you. And I got a 6.
I got a 5.
Would you
Can
like to add
I
your insight die and try again?
can I add my insight die
You
and try
can.
again?
You can.
Perfect.
That's one of each, one light, one dark.
3.
What was higher?
3. So it was the light die with a 3.
Your rolls are not showing up on my die
Oh,
roller thing. I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe I'm in the wrong. I don't think I'm in the wrong thing.
let
No, I
me
see yours, Jason,
refresh.
but not Wes's.
Are you in this one that I just linked on the chat?
Oh.
But you said your light was the highest.
Yeah, my light was the highest with a 3.
You fail.
Yeah.
But you don't. But your insight doesn't go up. I think as you are running, you kind of like you might even like kind of like knock over a couple of things to get to the back. And I think the reason why they get away is because you slam up against the back door, but it's locked. There's no way that whoever this was went that way. And then you realize too late that there's a hatch in the floor that they have dived down into. Sir, I assure you, your mind might just be playing tricks on you. The various objets d'art I have in my possession and available for commercial transaction have that effect on people from time to time. It's really nothing you need to concern yourself with.
Yeah. Just the heat getting to my head is all.
He goes and like conspicuously closes the hatch. And he like closes it and like puts the little slider lock thing.
I might just need some victuals, is all. Thank you for your time and your candor and showing me your shop. It is a quite interesting space. I might grab some materials for my way back to Silver City when I leave tomorrow.
That would be splendid. If you're looking for a place to eat, you might try the delicious fajitas that they make over at the hotel.
I think we have a reservation. Have a good day.
Fantastic. Good scene. Thank you. Let's go back to Irene and Charlie. So you were headed up the tower, yes, or something else?
We hadn't established that, but I think that is where Irene would want to go. Charlie?
Uh, Charlie would definitely feel better about going with someone. And yeah, I think if Irene brought it up first, then Charlie would acquiesce.
You go into the little base of this. It's a bell tower theoretically, though you haven't seen or heard a bell. You have seen someone standing at the top of it, or at least a shadow of someone standing at the top of it. There is a kind of switching back staircase that goes up to the top. It's otherwise exposed, like there's a rail, but you can kind of see all the way up and down until you get to the top floor. As you climb, I will tell you that the air is getting oppressively thick and heavy. And I don't mean like it's hot. I mean you feel like a sense of sorrow, perhaps. You feel a pit of dread rising up in your stomachs, perhaps.
Hmm.
But in any case, it hasn't reached insight roll level yet, but I am curious from both of you. Tell me about the first time you witnessed or otherwise had to deal with death. Think on it for a moment.
Hmm.
Emmett Van Poel, you said you were going to go ahead and do some research in the hour or so you have left in the library, right?
Yes. Specifically, I know Professor Godfrey was interested in the kind of folklore side of things. So I would like to, yeah, I think that I remember now the thing I was trying to do was figure out if there's any, we seem to have this pervasive desert dust. So is there any way I can tell like areas of the shelves up here that have been, show signs of activity?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody picking the books out and
Yeah. Let's just make a die roll. You could do two dice. Because of your particular occupation, I think would help you here. And yeah, you also have that book.
Mm,
Is that part of your research as well? The one that you had with you that you showed to the librarian?
yeah, I wonder if looking for things that maybe, if that's the kind of thing Professor Godfrey was interested in, maybe there are similar tomes, similar subject areas. I
Let's
don't
just do a
suppose
two
there's
die
like a
roll. Yeah.
Dewey Decimal Code on this thing, but
Yeah, probably. Well, there might be, but you,
I got,
I think being
I
pointed
got
in the right direction is good enough.
very appropriately, I got a 6.
You did indeed. You learn a lot. You learn that Dr. Godfrey, based off the books that you pull off that seemed like they were previously handled most recently, and indeed picking up a few other titles that seem like connected subject matter, you learn a lot about this place, about this area. There's a really particular history of Castronegro and the surrounding area from before the town was settled. there was a tribe of Native Americans, apparently unrelated to the nearby Apaches, Comanches, Zuni, or Navajo. Their name is long forgotten at this point, but they dwelt here in this area until a few decades before the Spanish arrived. And those Native Americans raised a stone monolith in the area. There's a drawing of it in one of the books you find. And there's even a suggestion that neighboring tribes would use the names of this nameless tribe's gods as a curse. You might also learn something about the family lineage history of Castronegro. Something you may have already put together is that the two main families here are the Diazes and the Villela Pereiras. And for all intents and purposes, as best you can tell, they're one family. And then another strange thing, and this is what you're getting for your maximum information here. The current head of the Diaz family is a one Bernardo Diaz. But as best you can tell from the record, approximately every 40 years from 1730 on, a new Bernardo Diaz is listed as being born. So Bernardo Diaz II was born in 1731, Bernardo III was in 1769, and so forth until the present day. The current Bernardo Diaz would be about 30 right now, if this text is correct, and you don't have any reason to think it's not. I think you also start looking in that book, Nameless Cults, which we'll get to in a moment. Pontius Whitehall, where do you go when you're done with the shop?
I think looking at the map here, leaving the shop, the tomb, fuck that place. We got the library, the tobacco shop. I think before dinner with the wonderful fajitas at the hotel, Pontius is gonna cross
The yard,
the square, cross the yard by the chapel and everything. Just like shaken, but a little bit just like looking over the shoulder at the tomb.
I would like to
The
suggest
tombs.
that as you're crossing the way, you see Charlie and Irene going into the bell tower as well, if that matters.
Charlie and Irene going into the bell tower. What them two ladies doing?
What do you
I'll
do?
be a little bit of a weirdo. I'll go ahead and see. Like I just saw some weird stuff, and like I came here with 3 other weird people. Me being probably the most normal out of everybody here, of course. And so I'm gonna do some peeking. I'm gonna do some peeks and seeing what they're up to.
Charlie and Irene, talk to me about the first time you experienced death.
I'll kind of zoom in. I'm sure that I had relatives that died at a young age, that kind of thing. But the time when it was most immediate was actually before I had started on this whole venture into occult dentistry. I was just a normal dentist, and a patient had come in, and um, they were sitting in the dental chair and complaining about a toothache. And I looked inside of their mouth, and like one of these teeth just looked like it had been like corrupted by death. And there was this like weird gold filling on it in the shape of a rune. And I was like, we really just need to pull this out. And they protested, do not pull that out. Do not pull that out. This is a matter of life and death. You cannot pull that out. Add another filling to another tooth, but do not tamper with that tooth. And at some point, we can't have this cancerous tooth in here anymore. And so I put the patient under nitrous oxide. And the second that I pulled that tooth out, I could feel their soul departing their body. And when the nitrous oxide wore off, sure enough, they were dead. But there was something speaking to me from this tooth that I had pulled out, and I dropped it into a jar and saved it.
Charlie.
God, I should have gone first. Um, when Charlie was a a child, but probably around the age of 9 or 10, there had been a stray cat that would come around the neighborhood that Charlie lived in often, and Charlie would offer it food and um, pet it and things like that, but never brought it inside. Mother wouldn't have that. Um, and the stray cat stopped coming around for a while, and Charlie noticed this and one day started poking around the neighborhood looking for the cat, seeing if she'd be able to find it. And when she finally did, the cat was definitely dead, and partially cannibalized by some other stray cats in the neighborhood.
As you reach the top of the bell tower, the steps the steps just sort of like deposit you at the top there. There's no door or anything. You find yourself in a hexagonal room with slit-like windows. And the atmosphere is suddenly very thin. It was quite heavy and oppressive on the way up, but now it seems almost, like thin and weirdly cold. And you'll hear whispering as you round the corner into the actual room. And then you see it in the center of the room, a rather horrible statue carved from basalt. It depicts a distorted human figure wrapped partly in a shroud with a sickle in the left hand. With the other hand, it points out one of the windows. I'd like for you both to make insight rolls, please.
I got a 6.
Okay, so your current insight is 2, going up to 3.
Yeah.
What'd you get, Charlie?
I rolled a 3, so my insight will also go
Okay,
up.
yours is also going up to 3. Fantastic. Think about how you're feeling right now. How is hearing these whispers, seeing this really ominous statue, and indeed the very bizarre atmosphere shift, how is it affecting you? How is it pushing you one step closer to succumbing to whatever darkness envelops this town? Emmett Van Poole, you're having your own little moment, probably at the right time, at the same time. Maybe even when you opened that book is when those whispers started in the bell tower. You're looking through Nameless Cults. It is a book that depicts all manner of dark, bizarre rites from ancient cults and civilizations that are no more. Some of them are depicted with surprisingly good illustrations, detailed illustrations. Every page turn is another descent into depravity and possibility. And I would like for you to also make the insight roll.
A 3. I'm also going up.
Indeed. Pontius Whitehall, you would have felt a cold wind blowing across the yard at the precise moment Nameless Cults was opened. You're at the base of the bell tower. What do you do?
Can I sense the direction the wind is coming from?
I think it's something that wouldn't necessarily stick
Yeah.
out in your memory beyond just
Okay.
a quick, like, oh, that's it.
I'm not hearing
But
anything.
if you're curious, it's coming from the southwest.
That's coming from the southwest. Okay. And I'm not hearing anything come from those two walked in, and I'm not hearing anything come. It's just the
No,
bell tower.
just the
No
bell tower. I
clopping
mean,
of.
it's strange. The tower is made from a different substance than everything else in this town, as far as you can tell. Almost a oily black substance, I would say. It glistens in the high sun, or actually the setting sun now.
There's a minute where Pontius is like about to step through the threshold of the bell tower and everything, and there's like that moment of like a hand reaching out towards the door to push it open further and everything like that. And then Pontius stops and goes, "That's probably their private business. I have no need to get into that." That's and just is going to turn and walk towards the hotel to get ready for dinner.
Fantastic. Irene and Charlie, how's this affecting you?
I think that Charlie is desperately trying not to look at this statue for too long, but what makes that difficult is that every time she looks away, it appears that the statue has shifted to be pointing at her.
What does the face of the statue look like? Can I ask?
Let me be reminded really quickly. Sorry, I have to scroll up a
No
little
worries.
bit. Or scroll down a little bit, rather. This is the one thing about running things from modules with loads of
Mhm.
pages. It is, it just says a distorted human figure.
Okay.
So kind of
Um,
like, I would say it's almost like it's like obvious like facial features, but like formed from clay, roughly,
yeah,
not
yeah.
like finely detailed.
The thing that I'm thinking about is that um, Irene finds like the meaning or the truth of things within the mouths of people. And so I think that there's a little bit of just kind of like suspicion of Charlie to some degree, but also like, and Charlie, so you can probably see like, uh, uh, Irene just kind of keeps looking over and like wants to like ask you something, but does not know how to ask it, and is also like staring at the statue's face. And I don't know if there would be like a anything that's like a chisel or yeah, some type of like metal or stone thing, but I think she wants to see inside the mouths of the people and the human-like looking things around her in order to try and determine some truth.
I
So
mean, I kind of like the idea of you just like sticking your fingers in there, like maybe there's a,
yeah,
you
and
know,
I think it's like trying to, and this is what would make it like weird and illogical, it's like trying to pry it open, like
okay.
trying to get the jaw to unlock to be able to see inside. And um I think looks over at Charlie as she's doing this and just says, "Don't worry, this won't take long and it'll be very quick and easy with you."
The moment you touch the statue, make an insight roll.
Oh. Hey,
What'd you get?
a one. I'm
Okay,
safe.
you're in your own territory here. This is what you do. You might feel a bit of a you might feel a shudder run through you, but otherwise nothing
Mm.
remarkable.
Hmm.
What do you do, Charlie, in response as Irene is looking through the mouth of this statue, which is clearly pointing at something out the window?
Yeah. Uh, well, in response to Irene saying that it wouldn't take long with me, Charlie definitely responds with me. Um, but I don't know if Dr. Mallory even registers that or answers, or is just focused on the statue at this point.
Um, yes, yes, we all carry things with us, and I need to know. I just need to know.
Well, I can just tell you, you don't have to. What are you doing to the?
I think Irina's gotten frustrated with the statue at this point that it won't
Yeah.
open its mouth anymore and turns to you and just says, "Say ah."
Is this a routine examination,
It
doctor?
is. It is.
Ah, and will like open her mouth, but maybe not as much as like is clearly very hesitant to engage in
And I
this.
probably come right up and like
Yeah.
hold your jaw, like in that way that like I'm a professional, so I am this is not your personal space, this is professional space at this point, so I am just like in it and just like not even thinking as I'm like gazing into your jaws.
I think you should probably make a two die like investigation roll.
Okay, I
But I
love
think
it.
you should also do your insight die because you're clearly tapping into your forces here.
All right, I'm gonna roll all of these at once.
Yeah.
So, oh, it's a 6 on the investigation. It's a
Okay.
5 on the insight, so I am going to go up again. This is the
Well,
problem.
no. So if you get a
Oh,
six, the way you only have to do an insight roll if the insight die is higher,
oh, okay,
or if it's
okay,
the highest die or tied.
cool.
But in this case, the regular die is highest. But because you got a six, there's a chance you see something that causes an insight roll. So, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
we'll get back to this in a moment.
All right.
Emmett Van Poole, you are also kind of losing your grip just a little bit going through this book. How's that translating for you?
I think given Emmett's field of study, this is absolutely fascinating to him, and something convinces him that it's real. It's not. This is not the ramblings of a fabulist. But at some point, it becomes too much, and he just slams the book shut, and it's almost like that feels like the first breath he's taken in an hour.
I love it. I think by the
And
time, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, is there a window upstairs in this?
No.
Mm, because I think his mind is turning on that obelisk that was in the other book, and
What if I told you you were physically turning your body to the southwest?
mm,
Maybe even reflexively,
would that
instinctively.
be in the direction of churchyard by any stretch? No, it isn't. That's north
It's
of
not.
me.
No, it's not. Pontius Whitehall. I think when you get to the hotel, you are greeted by Mr. Herrera, who's still there. He says, "Oh, you're still here. How splendid."
Thought you could get rid of me, couldn't you? Thought I wouldn't find any reason to stay in this one horse town. No, I'm seeing plenty of traction here. There's a lot of potential in Castronegro. I'll tell you, Mr.
Oh,
Herrera.
that's wonderful. I think a little bit of outside investment would go a long way in a town like this. You know, like paved roads would be really something, don't you think?
I love a paved road.
A
It's so
gas
comfortable to
station,
walk.
perhaps.
Could be. I
It's so
mean,
easy to drive all the way out here and then have your vehicle just be able to go no further because you ran out of gas.
Herrera, do you know a bit about geology?
That's the one with rocks, yes?
Absolutely. You
Then,
saying a gas station just got my brain turning. I can
oh my
see it
goodness.
now.
Oh,
A whole rest area in the middle of the New Mexico desert, Castronegro. We
mm.
have a diner. You have the hotel. You have a gas station. Why you have horse rides and camping for the folks out here. Do you say that the ground here? Do you think it's easy to dig into?
Oh, make the make a 2-die investigation roll.
I found a way to get business in there.
Mhm.
Not gold. There we go. 3.
He says, I, I'm quite sure I don't know about those things. Uh, Perhaps you could do a business, exploring caves. We have caves here in Castronegro.
Caves.
Yes, caves. Uh, no, yeah, yes. You know,
Where would those caves be located? I'm a bit of an amateur
underground,
spelunker myself. Where?
underground.
Oh. You're so silly, Mr. Herrera. Of course they're underground. They're caves. If they weren't underground, well, they'd be like a, well, like a, well, I guess a cave, an above
I
ground
I
cave.
really must look after the beef. I love beef so much, and you're going to
Fajitas.
love it as well.
Absolutely. I'm going to take a bit of a nap, but I'm going to be thinking about caves and gas stations thanks to you, Mr. Herrera.
And
I
beef.
think we've got quite a lucrative opportunity on our hands here.
Yes, that sounds wonderful. I'll come get you when it's ready.
Thank you.
I hope you can
No,
stand a little heat.
well, if I can, I best get out of the kitchen.
Mm.
Man, I can't wait to have me a plate of beans and rice and fajitas.
We
Fajitas.
just have beef, to be clear.
No. Pardon me. You're gonna have beef fajitas, and you're not gonna have a little bit of a rose. No beans to go with it.
Who needs all that fancy flimflammery? One can just savor the meat, really.
I reckon. I reckon. What kind of? You said beef?
Oh yes, beef, as if from a cow.
As if, but what are you stunning back there? You got some Black Angus back there. You got some Longhorns coming in from Texas that you're just trimming up.
I really ought to go now. Enjoy your nap, Mr. Whitehall.
The beef. Yeah.
And he hurriedly turns and goes back toward the kitchen.
No beans, no rice. Next thing you're gonna say, he's got no limes, no cilantro. What the hell kind of place is this? Just gotta stomp upstairs.
Indeed, indeed. Let's check back in on top of the bell tower. Irene, what'd you get in your die roll? 6, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Ah, indeed. What kinds of information are you looking for? What are you hoping to
I
learn, if
I
anything?
think I want to know. I mean, I'm worried that Charlie is, or I'm concerned or want confidence that Charlie has not brought, or has she brought some type of curse with her here? What is she carrying with her that might be instigating whatever is happening here in this tower?
That's really interesting. I'll just throw that over to Charlie. Is there anything, Charlie?
I don't I don't think there are any curses in a traditional sense. Um, I would say that probably something that Dr. Malari would notice is that it looks like Charlie has been grinding her teeth a lot.
Oh, interesting.
Hmm.
And I think as you open Charlie's mouth in front of this strange statue of death, I think you'll also get, I think because you got such a good roll, I'm gonna say you get a little flashback of Charlie and David, if that's okay, Bran.
Ooh, yeah.
Be thinking of the flashback. We might learn something about you and David. And Irene, I think this is the best this has ever worked. And I think you're gonna have to roll an insight roll, but we'll learn something here. Meanwhile, Emmett Van Poel, I think you close the book and it doesn't it seems like it seems like time has passed and you didn't even realize it because the old librarian is like he's gone upstairs and he's right next to you and he says, "Sir, we're closing just now. I have to get over to the hotel.
Of course, of course. Um, would
Come,
it be
you can join
possible?
me. We'll go together."
Sure. Would it be possible for me to borrow this particular book? And I'm looking at the one that had the
The drawing.
obelisk in
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
He says, certainly, yes. I suppose it's a little late in the day to get you a library card. We'll just go on the honor system for now. Hmm?
Well, certainly, certainly. I can give you my academic credentials later.
Ah, indeed. You're staying at the hotel, yes, in case I need to come collect the book myself because you've forgotten it or left town before you've had time to bring it back.
I am. Yes.
Oh, excellent. Good. Well, shall we? And he,
I suppose some sustenance would be good.
yes, yes. Do you like beef?
Certainly.
Oh, yeah.
Is what is I understand it's to be fajitas. I don't know that I've had that before.
Oh, yes, fajitas. That's exactly what we'll be having. And you can leave the library and head down to the hotel if you wish. Charlie, let's have that. Actually, let's take a break now. We'll take 5, give you another minute, Bran, and then we'll do that flashback.
Good.
Okay, Charlie, what does Irene get a flash of when she puts her hands in your mouth?
Oh, yes. Sorry. Um, you see a younger Charlie, like a teenage Charlie, um, with a a teenage boy, who is probably about the same height as Charlie. Like in general, very similar builds. They look very similar to each other. Um, Not in like a brother sister way, but in a like very clearly the same age and like just very clearly have some of the same interests. And, um, they are under a dock off of the Massachusetts Bay, looking around, picking up rocks and seashells and sea glass things that look interesting. Um, Occasionally throwing them at each other and uh, laughing, and it's very playful. And some of the pieces they're collecting in a jar. And eventually they find what looks like possibly a shark tooth, maybe of like a great white or something like that. And it's still rather jagged. Um, and they take a moment to sit down under the dock, and each of them uses the tooth to prick their finger, and they squeeze just a little bit of blood into the jar with the rocks and seashell that they've collected, and they place their hands over the jar and look at each other and say, "We'll protect each other forever."
Oh, nice. Good, good, good. I like the tooth thing too. Irene, I do want you to make an insight roll.
It's a 5. So we
Oh,
continue to tick right up.
tick right up to 4 now. Um, how does this change you right now? What's going on?
Um, I think it's something that I'm going to be fairly fixated on here is this idea of protection. And maybe it's that like if I can keep Charlie nearby, maybe it's sort of like even sort of like merging the quests a little bit where it's kind of like things are getting dangerous if we can find it's David, right? Uh, if we can find David, we can sort of like harness whatever these two have performed an occult rite without realizing it. And so that is something that we can utilize to keep safe, but we do need to get that synapse, that connection back in line correctly.
Love it. It's great. Uh, I I don't want to leave this scene quite yet, so let's just pick up right after that.
Um, so I think I look Charlie in the eyes after looking in the teeth and seeing the shark tooth and all of that kind of thing, and I say, um, we can use this. We can. Do you have any idea what kind of power you have inside you, between you, really? I think you're on mute, Bird.
Whoops. Um, Charlie goes very wide-eyed and says, uh, "Power between who?"
Can you sense him? Can you feel him? Is that why you're here?
David, you mean?
Oh, is that
How
his
do you
name?
know? How do you know about David? Uh, it's to answer your question. No, I can't. I don't think I can sense him. I found an envelope. It led me here. I'm looking for him. If I could sense him, that would make things a lot easier.
Hmm. You may just need to clear your mouth.
Excuse me?
Clear your mouth, speak your mind, speak your soul.
Okay. Um, I don't know what my soul has to say. Um, d so you were saying that we could use this though. What is this? Maybe that'll help me.
The two of you have a bond that you have created. I think you created it as a joke, as a plaything, but I can assure you it's one of the most powerful occult rituals known to us. And
Charlie, the mere fact that Irene is recalling to you
Hmm.
this story that they should not know,
Yeah.
please roll insight.
Yeah. Oh, that's a 3. My insight is a 3.
It stays the same then. You're fine.
it's
I
it's something far more powerful and perhaps even more powerful than whatever is at work here. We can use it,
I
we can utilize it. We just need you to find David. That may not be seeing him,
right.
it may not be feeling him or touching him in the way that you think about it, but that connection between your souls, between the air you breathe.
Well, I'm I'm not doubting that the connection that we have is powerful. It's it is very special to me. Um, and I would love nothing more than to connect with David and figure out something, anything. I mean, the lead I had here didn't garner much more than coming up to this tower. And I think Charlie is pacing a little bit at this point. I would like to try to glance out the window that the statue is pointing through as I'm doing this.
People watching the video, I promise you, are like, look out the fucking window. No roll needed. As you can see, it's very obvious and direct. The statue is pointing to the southwest, and from that height where you're at,
Mhm.
you can look and see that it's pointing at what appears to be an enormous obelisk in the desert. And with that,
Hmm.
I think we'll we'll leave the bell tower. We'll fast forward with you both at fajita time, or wherever is next. Pontius, you said you were going to go decompress in your room a little bit. I like that. Are you just like,
Yeah, do some of this newfangled mysticism I've heard of called the hot yoga.
yeah, I see.
Yeah.
So you're just, yeah, you're in your room. The rooms are, it's really interesting because the rooms are, well, this room at least has no window. You're just in a little dark adobe box with a wood door, a single bed, and just a little kind of narrow chest of drawers to put your things in. There's a lamp, so that's something. And I think as you're doing what you're doing, relaxing, whatever you're doing, kind of taking in this strange day you've had, you start to hear a on the door. Something is scratching on the door. What do you do?
Who is it?
You can now hear something coming from from the keyhole.
Pontius is gonna slowly get up. And would it be too much to say that Pontius has like a two-shot Derringer, like reaching
I'm
in
into
like
it.
the
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's not like a six-shooter that's gonna blow anybody
Mm.
away, but just like this rinky-dink little
Yeah.
two-shot like Derringer, and it's gonna say, uh, "If that's Mr. Herrera, I appreciate bringing towels to the room. I didn't have any for the wash basin." And then I'm going to slowly stand up with the Derringer and make my way over to the door and see if there's a reply.
There is there's no peephole in the door. There is the keyhole, which you might be able to look out, and you can hear from the keyhole.
Pontius is going to kneel down next to the keyhole and not look through it yet. It's going to go, Joaquin, Joaquin, if that's you, you gotta let me know, buddy. All right, I'm sorry. I'm trying. And then I'm going to slowly look through the keyhole.
You look through the keyhole and you see a huge, vivid green eye staring back at you from the keyhole. Please make an insight roll.
Just a dark die.
Yeah.
Damn, I'm rolling poorly today. That's a 1.
Well, no, you want low on this, but
Oh, okay, good. Okay, good.
you've seen plenty of green eyes already. No worries there. What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
You see this green eye staring at you. Actually, let's cut away. Emmett,
Okay.
you and the librarian, I keep forgetting his name. Let me go find his name again. Ephraim Diaz. Ephraim Diaz, the old man, old librarian, and you are there in the hotel, and Juan Herrera comes to greet you, and he says, "Ah, here for a delicious, delicious beef dinner. We have flank steak. That's from the flank of the cow. You see, that's why they call it that."
I'm sure I'm quite hungry, yes.
Now, Mr. Van Poole, Mr. Whitehall expressed a bit of reservation and indeed shock and alarm that we don't have any side dishes available. We just have the meat. I hope that will be okay.
Oh,
I don't want to. I would prefer to spare our guests as much disappointment as possible.
no vegetables? No.
Oh, we'll put some onions in it, of course.
I see. Well,
Onions
I do
help with
try
the
to be
flavor.
I do try to be careful with my diet and make sure I'm getting enough fiber, but I'm sure this once it will be fine.
Oh, good. Excellent. So glad to hear it. Yes, yes, yes. Well, it's nearly ready now. And indeed, you do smell cooking food, the sort of greasy smell of meat being fried somewhere in the hotel. He beckons you both to a little side dining room, or like a nook with a couple of tables, basically. The tables have serape tablecloths over them.
Well, I wonder where my companions have got to.
Oh, well, I believe Mr. Whitehall, I have to go collect him momentarily. And I'm not sure about Dr. Malari or oh my goodness, I've already forgotten the other one's name because I because it is not on the it is not on the Zoom chat. And Ms. Sullivan. I couldn't say where they are. I'm sure they're well, maybe they're enjoying themselves in the vibrant downtown shopping district of Castronegro.
It is. I had a most interesting time at the library with my new acquaintance here.
Yes, Ephraim. Yes, he's a good one, Ephraim. As far as Diaz's go, and Ephraim just chuckles.
And I couldn't help but notice that, well, the curious construction of the church tower, if that's what it is. My
Yes,
specialty
yes.
is in the history of Christianity, and
Oh,
well, I'd rather expected to see a Spanish-style church here, and
he leans in kind of conspiratorially and he says, "Between you and me, I think Christianity is just a bunch of nonsense. Don't you?"
well, I did not say I was a believer. I just...
It's a faith that has taken the beliefs of so-called pagan cultures and recontextualized them and repackaged them and rebranded them for a modern audience.
Such is ever the nature of syncretic religions, sir. That is precisely what I find so fascinating.
I don't know what syncretic means, but you're a learned man, and so I'm going to assume that it. Yes, I'll use context clues. Yes, exactly. That's precisely what I'm saying. I agree
It is
completely. I think the beef is nearly ready, and he goes off to get the fajitas. Ephraim sits down, unbothered by how high-strung Wanderer is. Ephraim says, "The Herreras are always a little touchy when it comes to the church."
Oh, and there's some family history there.
He kind of rolls his big green eyes. You can make a 2-die roll.
Who?
2. He leans in and says, "Well, you didn't hear this from me, but the Herreras are supposedly descended from witches."
Witches of the Salem variety, or
And he kind of gives a little smile and he says, "I don't think there were many Herreras in New England at the time of the
no,
witch trials."
no, indeed.
And he might have more to tell you if you were to add your insight die and try to get a higher roll.
Let's do it. So is that I would roll 2 light, 1 dark, or just the dark?
You would roll just a light and a dark. Yeah. Or no, 2 would be 2 light, 1 dark because you have 2 dice initially.
A 4 light.
He says, after he makes his little crack about New England, he says, No. They were Spanish witches. They actually fled here a long time ago. They fled the Inquisition. Notorious, powerful, dastardly witches. In fact, it was the conquistadors who came here. They weren't originally trying to settle the land. They were trying to find these witches, these Herrera witches. But I guess at some point they must have decided to get along. The conquistadors, of course, being the ancestors of the Diazes and the Villela Pereiras.
Well, that is a most unusual history.
Yes.
And how does that link to that curious bell tower?
Funny thing, that bell tower. It was here before all of us, before all of it. Before Castronegro, before, well, what the town was originally called, Agua Blanca, before witches, before conquistadors, all of it. It was here. The
And
church, of course, made their use of it, but
I was fascinated to. I was really struck by the mention of an obelisk out in the desert. Do you know anything about that?
no, I'm quite certain I don't. I can't wait for beef. And Irene and Charlie, are you both going to go down to the hotel now, or are you going to go somewhere else?
I think going to the hotel is
Might be good to get
fine.
everybody together to do like a
Yeah.
sharing
Yeah.
information scene. Would be probably pretty
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Confer. You'll come in. You'll smell the smell of of like kind of sizzling pork. Sorry, beef and onions and peppers and things like that. And you'll hear Ephraim and Emmett Van Poole having their their stage whisper conversation. Maybe about you might even hear bits about witches. And Pontius Whitehall, what are you doing right now?
I was peeping at a big old green eye
And
through
then
a
what?
little keyhole. Uh, I saw. I think I rolled a 1 on my insight, and everything was
Yeah,
fine.
you're
And
fine.
so I am going to just. I see that big eye, and I go, I know that anywhere.
At this point, you hear someone coming up the stairs. You can hear it in the distance.
I'm going to stand up, and I'm going to open the door quickly, and I'm going to say, Joaquin, get in here. And I'm going to, open the door to drag in whoever's inside the room.
You open the door quickly, and whoever it is running away from whoever's coming up the stairs. They're running in the opposite direction. But you might just get a glimpse of a pale, undressed leg sliding out the window down onto the street.
God
This is the second
dang
story, by the way.
I'm going to say that loud enough for whoever's coming up the stairs to hear me just say, God dang it.
It's Mr. Herrera. He says, what's the matter, Mr. Whitehall? Something else not meet your approval?"
No. I mean, yes. I mean, no.
"Oh my goodness, who left this window open?" And he goes and closes the window.
Mr. Herrera,
Mm.
have you seen a pale, lanky sort with green eyes wandering around here?
Pale, lanky, with green eyes. There's quite a lot of those, I'm afraid, Mr. Whitehall.
The entire family of them?
Diaz's and Valera Pereira's, they all have a certain look. That's true.
Weird things happening in this town of yours, Mr. Herrera.
Oh, it's, I'm sure it's all perfectly normal. Maybe you're just losing your mind.
Wouldn't that just be just convenient?
Mm. I know what will set your humors back in order, Mr. Whitehall. And I think you know too.
You found some rice and beans to go with that beef?
Oh, no, I just meant the beef. Follow me, please.
Gonna look back towards that window and then follow.
Hmm. I think at this point we'll have the scene with the four of you and Ephraim, who will be there but quiet unless called upon. Um, maybe someone has absconded a bottle of tequila or something from the changeling, and maybe you're even doing shots. I don't know. You can decide. But otherwise, there's just tap water to drink. Let's have the scene. Food's not there yet. Roleplay.
Good evening, one and all. It seems well, I had a most interesting day. I don't know about the three of you.
What's that?
Mr.
Oh,
Whitehall, you were talking about going out into the desert. Is that right?
had a hankering. I've gotten a wind of a fairly lucrative business opportunity that might involve some desert excursions.
Did you? I just found out that there is a most interesting monument out there.
Well, that's good. Monuments are good. Landmarks monuments are good. Go ahead and set up a booth right beside it, and you can start charging people a nickel for photos.
Yes, perhaps. I had not initially considered venturing into the desert, but I find myself rather drawn to the idea now.
What about caves?
Caves, did you say?
Any of you see any caves on your walks about the town?
We went up rather than down.
Suppose a tower is a sort of a cave, or is the tower
It's
the
an
inverse of a
above
cave?
ground cave, really. If you were to take a cave and put it above ground, it would be a tower.
Intriguing. Intriguing. How was the bell tower? It seemed that you and Charlie had yourself a fair trip. No, I wasn't peeking or nothing. I just on my way out of the tomb, I noticed you two going inside.
We did go inside. Emmett mentions a monument in the desert, and I can tell you that I spotted it right away. An
The
obelisk.
precise moment we went upstairs, we
Uh-huh.
saw it out the window.
Uh-huh.
You saw it?
Absolutely nothing else happened.
That's a weird fucking way to put it.
So
There's
it's
in
close
fact
enough that we could reach it.
if we had a burrow or perhaps a car, maybe even a cow. But I've heard that none of these things exist in this town.
Cows? Did I
Neither
hear
beans
cows?
nor rice either.
Cows? I have beef. And there's a big hot, hot one of those sizzling plates that they serve fajitas on, but a big one. And he sets it down. It does smell really good.
Mm.
He says, "Now, um, I do have the beef. I also have the tortillas for you here." And he lays down some tortillas. And Mr. Whitehall, I did manage to find something in the back of the pantry. They're baked beans, but I hope they'll do.
I mean, I'm not Mexican myself, so I'm not going to question the integrity of the cuisine. But I do love me a good bean. It's a healthy protein. I'm going to nod over
Especially
at
when
Dr. Miller.
drowning in syrup. That's what I say.
Mhm.
Ms. Sullivan, are you enjoying your stay at the Hotel Herrera so far?
Well, I haven't had much of an opportunity to get myself acquainted with the hotel, but I'm sure that it'll, uh, you know, be just as delightful as any of the other accommodations I've stayed in as I've made my way here.
I'm so happy to hear it. All right, tuck in. People tell me that it tastes like pork, but I think that's nonsense. It's clearly beef. All right, then. And he leaves.
I've heard that some people say that human flesh tastes like pork.
Where have you heard that?
Why would you say that
Well,
at a moment like this?
it just Mr. Diaz's mention of pork just struck me as I believe I heard it from one of my colleagues in the anthropology department at the university who study cultures that may indulge in ritual cannibalism from time to time. I'm sorry, I did not mean to cast a
Ritual
inappropriate pall on
cannibalism.
the evening.
No, now I'm just intrigued. I'm what? How can ritual cannibalism be profitable for a small town or a village?
Oh, I did not mean to suggest that that's what was happening here. I'm
Oh
sh-
no! Why would this? Why would ritual cannibalism be happening in the middle of the New Mexican desert? I mean,
Ephraim takes a bite of his taco and says, ah, ah, oh, ah. And he drops what appears to be a thumbnail on the table and flicks it away.
there's a plate of bean, just like a spoonful of beef about to put on a taco, and just sets it down and pushes it and grabs the bowl of beans.
Everyone, please make an insight roll.
Yeah. Okay. One or two. Nope. Okay.
Irene,
Irene,
unsurprisingly unaffected by this.
Unaffected, yeah.
I was gonna say Irene actually refuses to eat anything that had teeth at one point, so it makes no difference to her. And
A very specific kind of veganism.
I do not partake in the meat, nor the
Beaks
milk,
are okay,
nor the
but no
ovum of those with teeth.
Charlie got a 6 and is going up. Emmett, what'd you got?
I got a 3, so I'm going up.
You're going up as well. Or what was your? It was a 2 previously, I guess.
Mm.
Pontius, you're going up also, eh?
Yeah.
How does everyone feel right now? We can just handle it in conversation here at the table, I think.
I think there is just not to be too forward or to ruin everybody's or upset stomach. Please do the X. But I think like there's that sets the beef down, pushes the tortillas away, grabs the bowl of beans, and just has that quick upchuck of just pardon me, I'm so sorry, and just a mess.
And I think Emmett finds that he, with his flippant comment that didn't go down well at all with this company, he's managed to put himself right off any notion of eating anything and kind of gingerly spoons out some beans.
This can of baked beans better go a long way.
I'll just yes, like very very eagerly pass it on to you.
This is why you shouldn't eat anything with teeth, really. These types of scenarios can come up more frequently than you would expect, and trust me, in my line of work, we see a lot of exchanging of souls in lewd ways.
So you just eat birds and certain types of fish?
Yes, and fungus from the earth is also
Famously toothless.
famously toothless.
No Venus flytraps, though.
The toothsome creatures, yes, there's just too much being exchanged with the other worlds, the other dimensions that we cannot necessarily see and understand.
What is happening?
Ephraim says, "You're sure you're not from around here, dear?"
Fairly sure. We have cars where I
chicken
come
then.
from.
Chicken then would be acceptable.
Oh, certainly.
But they don't have chickens, they just have beef. But they don't have cows. But they have beef.
It's strange that they insist on calling it beef, isn't it?
I'm going to take a sliver of the fajita meat, and I'm going to smell it,
Delicious.
and then I'm going to do a little taste, put my finger and does it taste more? Does it taste like beef?
Well seasoned and delicious.
Can you tell if it truly is the flank?
I think it's cut up into too fine of a strips. It could be any cut of meat, really.
You said that Mr. Van Poel, you said that humans taste like pork, right?
I
Ephraim,
hope you'll excuse that.
says, what do you all think is going on here?
I do hope you'll
I,
excuse that comment. I don't know what brought that to my mind.
What are you doing right now, Charlie?
Uh, I think Charlie is just staring at this plate of meat and has made no moves to reach out for any food. Um, and probably quietly says to Dr. Malari, I think I'll take your advice.
Someone needs to eat. I feel terrible. Our host is going to be very put out that but I don't know. Suddenly I'm not feeling quite myself.
You hear the little ding of the hotel's front door, the little bell, and hear a few booted footsteps. And standing in front of you is a man who appears to be from the way he's dressed, some sort of sheriff's deputy or constable or something. Middle-aged, but reasonably healthy looking, hale, broad-shouldered. Takes his cowboy hat off and says, "Howdy, everyone. Hope you're all doing all right. I'm the constable, Fred Garcia. We don't get many people in from out of town very often, so I thought I'd just come and make sure everything's okay."
Thank you, sir. Yes. Well, this is perhaps fortuitous. I wonder. I'm looking for an acquaintance of mine, a friend, a Professor Godfrey. Would you
Is
happen
that
to
what
have?
you're all here for? Are you all here looking for this Professor Godfrey? He must have been a special
No,
man to have such a big search and rescue party.
no. We are acquaintances of chance.
We took the bus in together.
Oh, man, people don't just idly take in a bus to Castronegro. You must have some reason for being here.
Yes.
business.
Business? The people in Castronegro have barely got 2 nickels to rub together. Well, except for
Well,
at the tomb. He does a terrific mail order business, I'm told.
we heard. I heard. No, gas station. Travel. Transcontinental tourism. The utilization of the open road to bring families from
No cars
places
come
like,
through Castronegro.
well, maybe they could if people would have a little bit of common sense to see what kind of opportunities they have in front of them. But instead, people are talking about beef
That's
fajitas.
quite
And
enough. Thank you. So, business, missing doctor, you said it was?
Professor, yes.
Professor, I see. Yeah, I could have guessed that. You look the type. And he points to you, Irene.
Yes, Sheriff, I have been hearing a lot about cows and beef, flank steak, and
You're
as
here
you
looking into the cattle mutilations. Got it.
that is correct, sir.
Right. Well, I assure you, it was not aliens. So now that that's out of the way, I hope it didn't diffuse your excitement any.
Satanic rituals, though, have you done any investigation into that theory, hypothesis floating about?
I don't know why anybody would want to split open a bunch of cows and leave their guts spread out on the sand, on the desert grass, whatever the fuck they've got around here. But I assure you, sir, ma'am, the devil has nothing to do with it.
Well, Satan does work in mysterious ways. Isn't that true, Mr. Van Poel?
Mr. Herrera overhears you from the back and says, "I actually think that Satan has gotten a really, really bad rap over the course of history."
Well, Dr. Molari, you may be interested to find that Satan is a relatively recent addition to the Christian belief system. If we go back to the time of the Old Testament or even the New Testament, there's very little mention of him as a distinct figure in the text of the Bible. Our current perceptions mostly come from Milton and Dante's Inferno.
Hmm.
The board game fella?
I, I'm sorry, Mr. Whitehall, I don't understand.
Fred Garcia says to you, Charlie, how about you, ma'am? Are you here? What pick your poison? Business, missing professors, cattle? What do we got?
I'm also looking for someone, not a professor though.
So you're also looking for someone missing. Well, that's great because that segues perfectly in what I wanted to come tell you folks about, which is you really need to be careful around here. Castronegro is not the type of town that appreciates outsiders, we'll say. And I don't mind saying this in front of Ephraim, who's known to be a good un, but the Diazes and the Villela Pereiras are, let's just say they don't really care for people to go poking around in their business, okay?
There's some flags that are raising in Irene's head right now,
Just the one. Just now.
a very particular one. She leans over to Charlie and says, "Can you taste a little bit of the beef just to be sure?"
Uh, Charlie will do like a comical gulp before reaching for a piece of beef. Um, and is I think is going to like wrap it in tortilla first though and be like, I'll try to get the flavor, but like I'm really trying to mask it as much as
Clear your
possible as
palate,
well.
do whatever you need to do, but
Anyway, I'll let you all do what you're going to do. I just want to introduce myself. If you have any trouble, something happens to you, and you're still around to tell someone about it, my little constable shack is down at the end of Villela Pereira. You all enjoy the rest of your meat.
thank you, Sheriff.
Is he? I think Emmett leans towards Irene and says, was he warning us or threatening us?
Maybe both? It's hard to say without getting a closer look inside of his mouth.
It's, I think Emmett just leans back and shuts his mouth.
Are you eating this meat, Charlie?
Before putting it in her mouth, she'll look at Dr. Malari again and say, is this going to help me or you?
Hopefully, it will let us know if our protector is still here or not.
Oh, jeez. Uh, and yeah, Charlie will eat it.
Um, yeah, this is intriguing. I am going to suggest that you, oh boy, um, make a one die roll, and I think I'm gonna force the insight roll as well, or the insight die with it. So 1 and 1.
Okay, okay. Jesus.
Okay, you got a 6, which is a great result, but you're gonna have to make another. You're gonna have to make an insight roll here in a moment. Um,
Mhm.
I'm gonna tell you that as soon as you put that meat in your mouth and chew it and swallow it, you have a flash of insight, Charlie. You can share this with the group as you wish, but you have a flash of insight. You see people, hundreds, possibly thousands of people, pallid, naked, crawling atop one another in the darkness. Make an insight roll.
Oh my god. That's 6. Which means I'm going up to 5 on my insight.
Now that you're at 5, Charlie, you are entitled to suppress mythos knowledge. Basically, whenever you suppress mythos knowledge, you get to roll an insight die to reduce your insight. And the way you suppress mythos knowledge is you have to destroy evidence of something from what you've all learned. You have to destroy something. So let's just keep the scene going, though.
Yeah, I think Irene is looking at you very expectedly and maybe even
yeah.
maybe like nudging to
I think that it's really difficult for Charlie to finish chewing this. Like every chew is a just in and of itself torture. But finally swallows, opens her mouth to show you that she has swallowed it.
This is so
And
strange. I love it.
yeah.
Was he in
and
there?
I don't know. There were a lot of people.
Up chucks
There,
again on the floor.
there are. I think that maybe David is one of them, but I think there are many people in trouble.
There
And that
shouldn't
definitely
be
does
more than one.
taste. What do you mean by that?
I've read many books about this. More books than Van Poel here has probably read in his entire career, and there's no instance, there's never mention in any of these books. Of course, who knows? This is just a cult bullshit, but there's never more than one in a situation like this.
In a situation of being being a protector, as you think, or in a
Beef.
situation in
Beef. Beef.
There's
I'm trying to be
only
polite to our hosts and not raise any flags with them.
Yeah.
But yes, beef.
Well, but what I think you're meaning to suggest is that there can only be one source of beef.
Can we just not say beef?
Fine, pork then. Whatever you want.
Small upchuck on the floor.
Like punch is just like underneath the table, like sick. I'm sure that probably is enough to end dinner. I think.
Yeah.
Wanderer will come collect plates and collect things. Ephraim will thank you all for a scintillating conversation tonight and continue out back to wherever he's from. And we're going to take a quick break before, and when we come back, we'll continue on. But I do want to kind of just do like a quick recap of sort of things we know so far. So, all of you are here for different reasons. Um, there's a few like dangling things we still know about, or that can be pursued, I suppose. We have this obelisk out in the desert. Some of you have seen it in different ways, and it clearly is important. We also know that that David was spending time at the Casa de Diaz, which is the big mansion just outside of town. We know about generally the weird history of the Diazes, the Varela Pereiras, and the Herreras. We know that most of the people you've seen have these bizarre green eyes, though not all, but most. And what else do we know? We know that there's somebody that you're looking for, Pontius, you think, is in the tobacco shop. And although it's probably closed by now. And what else do we know? Any other thoughts? What do we need to be reminded of?
Caves.
There are caves. There's caves. Some kind of cave situation going on. There's
Witch
naked
stuff.
naked green-eyed people crawling around in town. We've seen them. The cemetery doesn't have people buried in it. And what else?
Whatever was going on at the tomb.
Yeah, well, that's we saw one of the naked green-eyed people in the tomb.
And there
Also,
are
there are objects of power at the tomb, it seems.
I'm here for the cattle mutilations. So I don't think we had established that there are cattle mutilations going on or reports of cattle
Well,
mutilations.
Fred Garcia mentioned it. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, the cop brought it up. So
Yeah.
it is a thing. There are cows. You might very well be eating beef. Just because Ephraim found a thumbnail in his. Yeah, I'm not sure what else. But anyway, think about what you want to do for the next little bit of the session. We'll take a 5-minute break. We'll come back. We'll do another scene, and then we'll call it a sesh. So where does everyone go from here? Together? Separate? It's nighttime now.
Our nighttime.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that Charlie is interested in trying to swing by the Diaz mansion
Oh,
if
okay.
she can get there before it's like, too late to be impolite.
Interesting. Did you want to try to suppress mythos knowledge before you do that?
Um, maybe I don't think so. I don't think so. Not
Okay.
for right now.
Very good. So Charlie's going to be it's within walking distance, but it is outside of town. You'd be heading. Let me get the map. I can't remember what direction it is. Here we go. You'd be heading west down Garcia Way to get to the Casa de Diaz. What do you think about doing, Emmett?
I mean, it doesn't seem wise to go out into the desert at night. And also, presumably, the tomb would be shut by now. I think I'm maybe an evening stroll to the churchyard.
Interesting. Okay. Pontius, what about you?
At first, having that same kind of instinct, the tomb being closed, Pontius thinks about rolling away the stone. But I think with everybody else kind of like splitting off their own ways and everything, Pontius is going to very loudly proclaim, "I'm going to bed for the night. I want to bed down." And is going to try to shimmy out of the window and try to sneak over to the tobacco shop to do a little bit of breaking and entering.
Well, like a little B&E, good. Irene?
I think Irene is there's this whole thing of like this new belief that David is some getting David and Charlie together is going to be some type of amulet of protection. That said, Irene is also watching the moon very closely because she wants to be at the obelisk at midnight.
Very good.
So if she needs to veer away at some point, she will absolutely do that.
Fantastic. I think Emmett, Pontius, or no, so Emmett, Irene, and Charlie, you will all be kind of outside of the hotel at roughly the same time. Maybe you're even like saying goodbye or kind of discussing what your next moves are or whatever to split apart. When you notice down the way, there's a not small group of people walking single file toward the south.
Like heading out of town.
Yeah. It's dark. What do you all do?
I think I may at least follow them as far as the kind of edge of town.
See where they're headed.
Mm.
I like that. Go ahead and do a 1 die roll.
A 3.
You can see that they are headed out of town. They don't go far, but they seem to, based off of their flashlights and stuff they've got, you can kind of follow them pretty well. I mean, it's not fully dark yet. They're still, the moon's, probably high or getting there. In any case, you can see them enter what appears to be a barn toward the south. Irene, what are you doing right now?
Um, I think if Charlie's still headed to the Diaz mansion, I'm still following, but I think I'm looking over my shoulder as we walk, like eyeing what Emmett is doing.
Yeah, you'll see
And
Emmett
yeah.
kind of head in that, to in that direction.
And yeah, like I keep on looking over as yeah.
Pontius, as you're getting ready to climb out the window, you can see down the alley, because you're kind of like, if you look at the map, you're kind of able to see down the little space between these two buildings towards the Changeling. You can see what appears to be an old homeless man or a drunk or somebody being kind of like shoved out of the Changeling. And you hear him say, "Well, fine. I don't want to be in your stupid private club anyway." And then he just kind of staggers off.
I'm going to follow behind until we get a little bit away from the changeling. And I
Yeah.
want to say, excuse me.
Huh? Oh, you must be from out of town. I don't see them big green eyes staring at me.
You know about the eyes?
I know about the eyes. It's all them Diazes and Valeperas.
You look like a man that needs a drink.
Well, now, how about that? You look like a man who knows what the hell he's talking about.
What say I get you maybe some how about this? I'll get you some funds
Uh,
to get you a bottle of hooch, something,
oh,
under the table for yourself. And
right,
you do me a
right.
little bit of favor. You seem
Yeah.
like somebody that can cause a ruckus.
Oh yeah, I'm a grade A ruckus causer.
You go ahead and you cause a little bit of a stir
Uh,
out in front of the hotel.
mm-hmm.
Make a loud enough ruckus that's gonna draw some folks.
Uh.
And come tomorrow morning, you'll have plenty of funds in your hand.
Now I have to ask, what is the ultimate aim of this ruckus?
I, don't get yourself in trouble. Just draw folks' eyes
All
towards you.
right, all right, all
Make a
right.
scene.
Well, fortunately for you, my middle name is Ruckus. James Ruckus Whitlock, at your service.
Mr. Whitlock, you can call me by the name of Pontius, not the way of Pilate, though.
As long as you're not one of them damn developers.
We got to stick together in this. And also, if you see some other folks, real pretty lady, real weird lady, and a very smart fella wandering about, don't cause them any trouble. They're not one of them green
Ladies, you
eyed.
said?
Yeah, yeah.
Ladies in Castronegro?
No, there's no ladies in Castronegro.
Well, son, how long have you been in town that you ain't noticed that there ain't no women in his town?
Just has a flood of like a slideshow of every interaction and every throughout the day, and going, oh, goddamn, this place really is a desert.
Yeah.
Never that mind. That's strange.
One ruckus coming up. And
Thank you.
he stumbles over to the hotel and he starts going, "You listen to me, Juan Herrera, you witch spawn. Get on out here. You child of the devil. Yeah, I said it. You child of the devil." And he's hollering and hooping. What are you hoping he does?
I'm hoping that he causes enough of a ruckus to get people to try to calm him down without hurting him. But also, Pontius is like, if he stirs some shit and gets hurt, I don't really care. Like,
Wait. Sorry, I was distracted momentarily. So you hope he does what now?
I hope that he causes enough stir to get people to like come out of their homes, or like, I guess, men folk.
Well,
to
here's
kind of like.
Well, here's the thing. Only Juan Herrera comes out. That's it.
Even better.
The buildings are like empty. There's like no one in these homes or houses.
Perfect.
It's like you can hear, and it's quiet, but you can hear witch spawn. Now that's not nice, James Whitlock. You know that, and he's kind of going on like that, you know.
Under that cover and everything, so that's at least one person that I don't have to worry about getting in my business. I'm going to shimmy off down
To the
like
tobacco
the
shop.
side, yeah, to the tobacco, towards like the rear of it.
Yeah, kind of going around. Yeah. I like that. Give me a one die roll to not be noticed. I'm gonna roll against you.
Perfect.
And my roll is a 2.
I had a 1, so I'm going to roll insight.
Okay. So 1 and 1.
3.
Okay. But you got to roll one more because you
Oh yes.
to see if the roll light die to see if the 3 is higher than that.
4.
Okay, so 4.
Yeah.
You're good. Yeah, you'll get there. I think it's a 4. It's a pretty good roll. I'm not going to add too much complication or shine to it, except to say that you're pretty sure, as you're making your way over to the tobacco shop, you briefly glimpsed a pair of green eyes in the dark staring at you.
Jumping G Willikers. Jumping
Let's
at
keep
ghosts.
on with Irene and Charlie for a bit. We'll check in with them in a moment, but Irene and Charlie, you're going to make your way up this road, and we'll assume you have a flashlight or something, and the moon is pretty high. And it's pretty direct. So you can even see it in the distance. You can see the mansion. But you're going to come upon something really striking out here in the middle of nowhere on this like little desert town road. There is what appears to be an enormous like stone, like a Gothic mausoleum or vault just off the side of the road. And it looks like the door is ajar to the vault. What do you both do?
Charlie is curious which of the what seems to be very few families this mausoleum belongs to, and is trying to get closer to see if there's a name above the door.
Ah, very good. Indeed, the door has the names.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to make you roll. I'm just going to tell you what you see. I'm actually going to show you what you see with a couple of quick screenshots. Drop those into chat. That's the first part. And here's the second part. Glance at that for a moment and maybe tell the viewers what you're observing here.
We see a lot of Diaz names
Mm-hmm.
and a few Vieira Pereiras sprinkled throughout,
Yes.
dating back to the end of the 16th century. And but then here's the interesting one. There's probably 25 names, and they all live close to 100 years, except for one. Bernardo de Diaz. It just says 1580 to nada. There's just nothing after it.
There's
So
no
no
death
death
here.
date.
There are women's names,
There are.
Ooh.
but there are less of them, I think, than the men.
Do you go inside?
I think Charlie defers to Irene here. It's like, is this best left alone?
Um, let's see. Maybe there's something laying about that will be informative. We'll just poke our heads in.
You poke your heads
Sure.
into this dark vault. It's just a single large room, as best you can tell. It's lined on both sides with sarcophagi standing up. All of them are sealed up. You can look at one on the left and see that it has a label of one of these dead, interred people.
Mhm.
At the far end, there's a sarcophagi that is open. The lid has been slid off and sitting up next against it, and there's nobody in the sarcophagus. And then you hear from the far end of the vault what appears to be a series of heavy, wet, splotching sounds, like something large and wet slapping or hopping or moving. And then you hear Paddock, Paddock, Paddock. And we'll end our session there.
Mm.
Ooh.
Let's do quick stars and wishes, and then we'll be done for today. Whoever wants to go first, please do.
Teeth gazing. Star for teeth gazing. Star for mouth noises. Star for thumbnail. Star for Rob, like some grade A, just like scholarly, like I said it during our break, but I was like, you're always good with the scholarly or academic zingers, of just like, well, there are some cultures that believe in ritual cannibalism and everything, and it's just like it's always just like a good moment where it's just there's a nice little thing to drop this bag in the middle of the table. Yeah, a lot of creepy scenes too, just good stuff all around.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
the teeth thing. Is so cool. I have to start for that. It's such an unusual characterization of a character, like, and it's a fun way to put a really interesting spin on a character. And even though I don't think like any of us really know like what it means precisely, it's just ambiguous enough, and it's got just enough to hold on to kind of do some cool stuff with it. Star for the flashback. I love the little shark tooth drawing the blood and putting it in the jar. That was really really great. That really like that gave like so much form to the investigation of both Irene and Charlie, for that matter, or for Charlie and Irene. Um, and yeah, I continue to really enjoy Pontius's like way of moving around, moving through the world. I want to know what the relationship is with Joaquin, this person you keep like calling out to, who it keeps not being. We need to see more of that at some point, or learn it. And yeah, I'll second the star about Rob, this sort of like scholarly discursion about various religions and peoples and anthropology and stuff, and I like the locals like kind of don't really know how to deal with any of you, and so they're kind of just stumbling through it in the way they know how, So yeah, it's all really fun, good stuff.
yeah, I really enjoyed that whole dinner scene, which just descended into levels of insanity. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there were so many the the delicious flashback of Charlie, and then the moment when it became apparent to her that Irene kind of had seen what she had seen. That was a really tasty kind of little moment. Yeah, I'm curious to see how we can possibly wrap this up in one session, because it feels like there are so many threads open. But yeah, I'm going into that barn tomorrow, that's for sure.
Want to echo the comment about like, well, there are some cultures that participate in ritual. Like that was just in general. Emmett is such a like scholar type, and that was a really good example of it. I thought it was very fun. Um, and what an upsetting thing to be told as you're looking at a pile of mysterious beef. Uh, And I love that Irene is becoming this like weird, captivating lady to Charlie, where she's just like, "Help me figure this out. I'm so lost." Um, and is fully just like, "I don't care what I believed before," simply because of that flashback moment, and recognizing that Irene saw it too. Charlie's like, "I have set aside all rationality." Um, Pontius also the moment you're I just don't see how that'd be profitable for Frito-Lay moment. Uh I know it was the small town or village vibes. Okay, Jesse Plemons. Your influences are worn on your sleeve, Wes, and I love it. Um and yeah, Jason, thanks for Star for your patience as we did not look out that window.
I was enjoying the comedy of it. It's
Yeah.
like, are they ever going to look out the window? Who can say?
Yeah, I think a lot of the specifics have been called out, but I guess to kind of like take the step back on the broad thing on like Rob's comment at the dinner scene and Jason, the whole beef thing and I don't we were talking about it yesterday. I don't know if saying that there was no cows was an accident or intentional in the conversation about transportation, but the way that has become a thing and fit into everything. Um, but I think part of it speaks to
Oh,
I
that
think
was
what's
100% intentional when I said
okay.
no cows. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Beautiful,
yeah, yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
And so I guess that then echo, this is all just like evidence of this point, is everyone's doing like this really fun job of playing with euphemism. Like this is sort of like a concealed information game, but we're all like revealing it in like these like ways that are like fairly obvious to everyone and kind of like pushing it through like the sort of like, oh yeah, like there's flesh tastes like pork, like that, this kind of thing. All of these sort of things are making it like a fun way to play in where we're not just kind of like coming out and saying what we think is going on or what is going on outright, but just sort of like touching on all of these sort of like let's hint and like kind of like roll it forward as opposed to skip it forward. So that's been really fun. This tomb is really spooky. The thing that caught me was the other thing of the 100 years. As I was asked to like talk through what I'm seeing, I would not have caught that of all of these people lived a really long time
Really
for
long time.
these
Yeah.
these periods of time. So there's all of this kind of like little thing that's kind of like fun to explore in this type of module or adventure that I'm enjoying. And mouth sounds, of course. So yeah, I'm excited to see what is next.
Is that everybody?
Mm.
Oh, great. Fantastic. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I am excited to continue tomorrow with our conclusion. We will finish tomorrow for The Secret of Castronegro. And it was a lot of fun. I'm going to wave goodbye to anybody watching the video.